short, then the kid on the end is...
Oh my god, they're laying kids! I haven't seen that! Are they crazy? What? No! No! Welcome back. So we always talk about that the world gets faster and faster and faster, and that more and more people get burnout. But what are the dangers that Gen X had in America? That is exactly what we are gonna find out today. But before we do that, please make sure to hit a like and a subscribe. That would help me so much. And if you see this on Christmas, then Merry Christmas. It's one day before, and I don't know when this comes out because I am already a little bit sick, and I see that I will be sick over Christmas. So Merry Christmas and good New Year to you. Okay, let's get into it.
If you grew up as Generation X, then it's probably a miracle you even survived. At least that's what the modern world tells us. Many of the things that were normal back then are now taboo. In this video, we will have a look back and wonder how Gen X kids even survived.
It's so crazy. I would say my parents are like Gen X. And yeah, I saw like pictures from them when they are young, and that is exactly how they look like.
Television wasn't everything, but it was still pretty important. If you were a kid in the 70s, then you probably did not even have cable. Most people relied on a television antenna, which was usually rabbit ears and tinfoil. However,
Really?
there were some households that used an antenna that was mounted on top of the roof.
I still know that, but they get less and less and less.
Every so often, this antenna would need to be adjusted thanks to some wind or weather. This became a family affair. Dad, of course, was in charge of the picture, so he was right in front of the television. One of the kids would be up on top of the roof and ready to receive instructions from the relay of the...
Was it also in the US that you had like family evenings where like one show was for the whole family? Because we had this certainly in Germany where back in the day there were only I think 2 or 3 programs, and like there was a big show which basically everybody in Germany watched, and the whole family always came together. Of course now, one person streams Netflix, the other person, watches maybe TV, and the next person games or something like that. But was this the same thing in the US, or was it already like more separated?
The rest of the family spread out from Dad. No one ever thought anything about kids being on the roof and then falling off. Most kids got up there anyways just to get a better view of the neighborhood or the stars. Many newer roofs are much more steep, and that might be considered child abuse to send your kid up there. I guess it's a good thing that people don't have to deal with antennas on the roof. Summers as a kid were always fun, and why wouldn't it be? You were out of school, and that meant you could spend more time with your friends. But with all that running around outside, you were bound to get thirsty. There's nothing quicker and more refreshing than a sip from the garden hose.
Oh,
of course,
okay.
You had to let it run a while before it got cold.
Really? I think our parents always told us we shouldn't do that.
Enough to drink, but it certainly had a distinctive taste.
Yeah,
When is the last
I did
time
that also once. It has a really distinctive taste.
you've seen a kid do this? It's supposed to be unhealthy, yet here we are. But
Yeah.
occasionally, I still take a sip from the garden hose. The garden hose was also connected to a couple other activities that parents today may consider them to be too dangerous. The first one was the slip and slide.
Okay.
The older editions of the slip and slide were a little bit more dangerous, and some kids broke bones or chipped teeth on these, but just about everyone slid off the end or over the side and got a grass or rock burn.
Oh, yeah.
Believe it or not, they still sell these, but they are a little bit safer. This next item...
What happened now? Something happened.
Safer. This next item, however, I'm not so sure about. As kids, we all enjoyed playing in the water sprinkler, but some of these sprinklers could be pretty rough.
Yeah, we
This one
did
in
that
particular
too.
was really dangerous. It
Okay.
had a solid steel base that could certainly...
Why have it? Oh, is it maybe they cover those holes and therefore it's sprinkling?
hurt if you stubbed a toe on it or fell on it, but that wasn't the dangerous part. When the water ran through the sprinkler, it would move the metal fan blade at the top.
Yeah.
At that point, it was like a little saw blade that was spinning fast on top, and it could cut
Yeah.
through little water-soaked toes and feet. Kids were fast learners, though. If they got cut once, they would be sure to clear it the next
Yeah.
time. Kids in our day used to be outside a lot, and we loved it.
It's that.
that worked out great because most of our parents really didn't want us inside the house anyways. As a result, kids spent a lot of time out in the sun. And
That's
sunblock?
true.
We had no idea what that was.
To be honest, I think this whole thing shifted pretty much when I was like in my, like around 10. Because, back in the day, I would say like in my primary school, I think we were like all the time outside whenever we had free or something. Or I was maybe inside with like some sticker albums or something like that. And then, like Nintendo DS became like bigger and bigger and bigger, and like everybody had this. And then, of course, something like the PlayStations got with PS3 even more big. So I think like then like my 10s, I spent way more time inside playing PlayStation, stuff like this. So I had basically like exactly this shift as well. Like my first 10 years were like pretty much outside, and then it was pretty much the opposite.
Are you talking about a hat or a shade tree? At most, we may have depended on SPF 4, and that's only if we were super cautious.
If you like this video, please hit a like. And if you want to see more of me, I would love if you subscribe. Thank you so much for that.
Everyone was exposed to the sun, and many of us would compare sunburns at the end of the day.
Yeah.
When our skin started peeling, we would see who could peel off the biggest flake. Oh look,
Yeah.
that one looks like Texas. It also wasn't uncommon to see teen girls and young women laying out and trying to get that golden beach tan.
I mean,
Why-
that's still a thing, I would say.
Often they would speed up this process by using either coconut oil or tanning oil. Today, most kids get lathered up with anything from 30 SPF to 100 SPF.
Wait. Because I always read about that there is something like higher than 50. But, nowhere in Germany you get this. There is 100? That's great. I would definitely need this because, I get either totally white or totally red. So I would need this.
Parents in those days certainly didn't have to watch us like the parents do today. They not only trusted us, but they also trusted our friends and the rest of the community. Parents realized that we needed to do things on our own, and that was how we were going to learn.
Yeah.
However, if they were watching and we happened to get hurt, there was no doubt that they were going to be laughing as long as it wasn't life-threatening. Bikes were everything to a Gen X kid, and they provided us a freedom that we couldn't get from anything else. We could go on adventures that were hours away from home, and for the most part, our parents had no idea.
I would say we could basically go wherever we want, but we should notice our parents. So it's not like they shouldn't know where we are at all. I would say, like at least, when you're 5, 6, then of course smaller area, but if you're 10, 12, I think you could basically go wherever you want.
Idea where we were at. We also used our bikes to jump some pretty shady ramps. We could
I'm
do
way
a
too
lot
scared
with
for
some
that.
plywood and bricks, and it was hours of entertainment. As we look back on our childhoods and compare it to modern kids, it's hard to believe that we did all those bike adventures with no helmet or knee pads. This
Knee
picture pretty
pads?
well sums
Do you drive bikes with knee pads? Interesting. Why only knee pads and not arm pads? But okay, because in Germany, I mean, you should wear a helmet, but many people don't. So yeah, but biking in Germany is of course very big.
up the generation. This kid is jumping his bike off of a super tall ramp.
I would never do that.
Notice that he has no helmet, knee
Yeah.
pads, or elbow pads. Just pure fun adventure. If this Evel Knievel lands short, then the kid on the end is...
Oh my god, they are laying kids! I haven't seen that! Are they crazy? What? No! 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 I try to justify it in my head and get, in this older spirit from like 20 years ago and like in this kid spirit, but no, there's no way, he's like one of the biggest, we don't see him, but he's like the biggest kid of those and has a bike, which is another like 5 kilograms at least. No. No.
trouble, and occasionally that did happen. As you look at the kids on the side, you can tell
You did not really do that. That's just a movie image, right? You did not. Please tell me you didn't do that.
that they are worried about this because they've seen it happen themselves. But the best
I mean, this guy, crazy.
part about this photo is there's a dad sitting on the front steps and he's smoking a cigarette while he's waiting to see who gets hurt first. For him, this is as good as any gong show on television. Back in those days, cigarette smoke was everywhere, and you couldn't avoid secondhand smoke if you wanted to.
Yeah.
In fact,
that is also, you know, we had like, I think the total smoke, like in restaurants and in bars and something, prohibition in like 2009. So, and I'm like, you know, I'm still in the 20th century born. So I got like 10 years of this as well. Yeah, you could not avoid it.
Most of us had at least one parent that smoked. Parents would send their kids into convenience stores to purchase cigarettes while they waited out in the car. Usually the clerk would just look out and get a nod from the parent, which would signal that it was okay to buy the cigarettes. If the parents were not around, then the kid probably needed a note from the parents saying that it was okay to
Back
buy.
in the day, I lately saw a video about like also older commercials, like from Coca-Cola, I think, or from something else also, that said like basically, you know, you get like glucose or like this very simple sugar, right, which is totally not healthy, right, and this gives you energy, and like they said, this is exactly what you need to be healthy, and they straight up lied in literally every advertisement, although there was already like scientific things that this is not true. And I see when, of course, you know, back in the day, you hear that, you maybe think, oh, that's really good, and therefore these unhealthy habits were very present.
Buy the cigarettes. These notes were never all that official, and it might be written on a notepad, scratch of paper, or the back of a receipt. Dear clerk, please sell a carton of cigarettes. Thanks, Mom. Can you believe that actually worked? There's no chance that kids could ever do that today. Car safety was something else that most people didn't take too seriously. In the US, it became mandatory that every car manufactured after 1968 had to have seatbelts installed.
Yes, there was a, you know, Germany and its cars, there was like a big debate about if you should, you know, if this is like a limitation of freedom on the roads to have a seatbelt on. I mean, you know, today nobody is even talking about this, right? And to be honest, as a child, I was always like, it, because it was forbidden, I was always like feeling so cool when I, you know, so that my parents didn't see it, like took it off a little bit. And today, you know, I'm like, I don't even think about it anymore.
Than them. But wearing them was more of a recommendation rather than a requirement until the mid-1980s. Until then, we stood up on the front seat so that we could see up over the dash, and our dad's arm was our seatbelt and the airbag. Another thing that we would do is lay up on the back dash and pick our noses as we looked at the cop car behind us. We thought it was super fun when Dad had to slam on the brakes and we came flying out of that back window and slammed into the back of the front seat. Back then, we had to learn how to take a fall, and the crazy thing about it is we couldn't wait to get back up there and try it again. Pickup trucks were not as...
The only thing we did once is like, we were on the way to somewhere and we were very ill, or I was very ill, I don't know anymore. And we had even my blanket with us, and they just, you know, we had a big trunk, I think you say, you know, the things where you lay all your stuff in. And I slept there once. But, you know, it was not above something. It was just behind the seats. And my parents were like, hey, don't stand up. Not that somebody sees us, because it's very forbidden stuff, you know. That's the only thing we did. So this progression, you know, what was totally normal there and to I mean, it was 20 years ago, is crazy.
As common as what you see today. And people that had boats would haul them with regular cars, even Cadillacs. And when Dad needed lumber, it was going on the roof of the car so that it could come home. He would tie it down a little, but it was still our job to help hold the lumber down as it was stacked on the roof. So there we were, standing up on the seat, halfway out the window, clinging to the...
How big this tree is!
So there we were, standing up on the seat, halfway out the window.
With all roots, he just, he didn't even bother to just cut the tree. He unrooted the whole damn tree.
Window, clinging to the lumber on top, while Dad had
By the
his
way,
hand
this
on
car
the seat.
is like, when I think about America and cars, I think about this car. Like in all old movies about the US, they have always this car.
Halfway out the window, clinging to the lumber on top, while Dad had his hand on our waistband to keep us from falling out. Somehow his other hand was busy holding down the lumber on his side, which is pretty incredible to think about. At the same time, he was also steering the car, shifting gears, and smoking a cigarette. It's no wonder that we thought he could do anything. Remember some of the other activities we did? We all had toys that are considered dangerous now, but back then it was completely normal. Lawn darts was one of those toys. That
I heard
wicked
about
sharp
that.
point could penetrate anything if you didn't get the heck out of the way. Clackers, click-clacks, or knockers had the possibility of shattering and sending shards of plastic flying through the air like shrapnel. Yet somehow some of these clackers survived. In fact, here is my pair from the 70s. Back then, we learned how to entertain ourselves with the simplest of things. Do you remember making long chains from soda and beer can pull tabs? According to what they say today, we could have been badly cut at any moment, yet most of us had minor cuts, if any.
But we had already in the 2000s way more, but I think, I think it helped a bit. This overstimulation that now children have like all the time with like TikTok, Instagram, this, and I'm in my 20s as well, so I have this too. I think it doesn't help them to get more the priorities straight, to how to say, like, get focus on what they really want, like spend time with, because how there are more likes, there's something like that. And also, your whole concentration span is always on short dopamine. Oh, yeah, not a real. Oh my God, I have to send this and all of that. And I think, it makes just life in general very bad, because, then I see it myself. When I watch a soccer game, for example, here, I just, everybody, every time the ball is in the off, basically, or somebody throws in, I just skip, because, I needed immediately, again, this excitement of, hey, who's winning, stuff like this. And I think, this reduction on patience is very bad.
Dangerous activity that we all did was kite fighting. Remember this one? You would fasten razor blades to the side of your kite and then swoop it down so that you could cut the string of your friend's kite.
But to be honest, we didn't do that because we had always so much struggle to even get the kites flying, that if somebody would do that, he would be like the ass of the group.
If you were successful, then that kite would keep flying forever. But if your kite took a nosedive to the ground, then you better be quick and get out of the way of those razor blades. BB guns were another item that was quite common. Kids could go all over town with one on the front of their handlebars, and the BB wars would certainly get intense.
Like that's not real guns, right? That they have like fake ammunition and something, but they make a pang, right? Yeah, we had those too. Like we have Carnival, where it's like longer Halloween, like for a few weeks, and there you always dressed up as like cowboy or Indianer, as we say in German, so Native American. That was always so cool.
Back then, we definitely did not have safety at the top of our list when those broke out. Firecrackers were certainly a lot more accessible than they are today. It seemed like you could pop them off in every city and it was perfectly legal.
That's crazy.
Did you ever set off some fireworks and then place them into your Tonka truck and roll it into the driveway where some neighborhood girls were playing jacks so that you could get their attention? No? Well, I guess that was just me then. Speaking of jacks, they were definitely something painful to step on if you were barefoot. Any parent today that complains about a Lego being stepped on has probably never really stepped on a jacks. These things would completely hide in the shag carpet, and they were like little sulks.
I think there are not the rules. What is this game? I have never seen this game. What is the Yeah, what is the sense of this game? To pop the ball the highest, or what is the sense?
These things would completely hide in the shag carpet, and they were like little soldiers that were waiting to ambush you. With all that time that you spent on the bicycle, then I'm sure that you probably came in contact with at least one of these.
Oh, yeah.
One slip of the foot and this pedal could travel up your leg
Yes.
like a vegetable peeler.
Yes.
Kids today know nothing about that level of pain. Here is something else that could be really painful. These chairs were really
This is
comfortable.
like, was this like a uniform or something? Because they look all very similar, like all the same colors. It's like, and like, you know, this high socks, or was it just really the style back in the day?
Something else that could be really painful. These chairs were really comfortable to lay in, but when you got up, you had lines going all across your skin.
Oh, yeah.
But that wasn't the worst part. They were not the easiest to adjust. You had to bend them all the way in so that you could adjust them further out. One wrong move and the hinges of these torture devices could snap down on you like a bear trap and take off a chunk of skin. Are these chairs even sold today? Despite all the dangers that were lurking all around us, it really was a special time to grow up in. People were...
The thing is, with all of these dangers, I would say, I mean, you know, some things are literally absolutely dumb. For example, you know, this one thing here that I couldn't believe. What here? This is just absolutely dumb. No, don't do this. Don't. I mean, you know, maybe there can always get something wrong, and you know, then maybe you land on the throat, and then this was it for the child. But in general, I would say there were more those little things, and yes, there could definitely stuff happening, but at the same time, because people spend so much more time outside and trying stuff, they also, I think, knew their you know, their borders and their limits more. So they were better at handling risk, basically, I think. So yeah, and I think this today is just like, therefore we are way better with computers, of course, which is also very helpful now in our society. But I think this is also a thing. This helped many people just get your hands dirty, get your hands on, you know. Today you always think about, oh, there's something, a solution like in the internet, and I could make it faster, I could do this. And like back in the day, you know, you didn't have the internet, basically. Wi-Fi was always, you know, always not working somehow. And, you know, you just need to figure something out. And I think that's maybe a good possibility or a good ability to have. But tell me, what are your favorite things that were back in the day, like in the 60s, 70s, or 80s, like thing that is not anymore today? Or what were maybe the most dangerous thing? I would really, really like to know this. And yeah, I hope you have a great Christmas, and we see each other in the next video. Bye.